Hello and welcome to the fifth session of the Casual Book Club EsteLore part number 5. In this chapter we are going to be discussing about Quenta Silmarillion chapter number 3. Chapter number 2, sorry. Chapter number 2 called Of Aule and Yavannah. This is a really cool and fun chapter. It talks about some really interesting topics that are really awesome, and we're gonna have fun in this chapter because we're gonna talk about some really cool stuff about the creation of two of the really important beings in Middle Earth. Hello, Michi.
Hey.
My Twitch is stuck. Hold on. Okay, it's good now. Okay, without further ado, let's start. Chapter 2 of Aule and Yavannah. It is told that in their beginning the dwarves were made by Aule in the darkness of Middle-earth. For so greatly did Aule desire the coming of the children, to have learners to whom he could teach his lore and his crafts, that he was unwilling to await the fulfillment of the designs of Iluvatar. And Aule made the dwarves, even as they still are, because the forms of the children of Iluvatar, who were yet to come, were unclear to his mind, and because the power of Melkor was yet over the earth, and he wished therefore that they should be strong and yielding, but fearing that the other Valar might blame his work, he wrought in secret, and he made the first 7 fathers of the dwarves in the halls under the mountains. Okay, here we finally find what the previous passage talked about, which was when it says, "For in the making of all the things in that land he had the chief part, and he wrought there many beautiful and shapely works, both openly and in secret." So this is the secret project that Aule had going on the side, not telling anybody what was going on. He got impatient waiting for the children of Iluvatar to come, and they still did not come, or hadn't come yet. So he decided he'll create something that he could teach and bestow the knowledge that he has about all the things. He being of course the master craftsman, needed to have apprentices whom he could teach what he knows. But his heart was at the right place, which separates him from Melkor, who mainly desired dominion over the others, while Aule on the other hand just wanted to teach and love and teach. That was all that was in his heart. So his wasn't like a rebellion, it was much like an impatient sub-creator who just wanted to create things to love and teach, not to dominate or rule over. Another important point we must note here is that they should be strong and unyielding. That's a really important point because at that moment Melkor was still in full power, so he wanted the dwarves that he is making to be undominable, unyielding, strong of will. This might be the reason that later in the Lord of the Rings, when Sauron gives the rings to the dwarves, he obviously expected them to also fall and become wraiths like the Nazgul, as the 9 rings that he gave to the men, they all became Nazgul and under the will of Sauron. While the dwarves, on the other hand, did not become wraiths because they resisted the dominion by someone else. Although they did fall to the thing that the ring brought out in them, which was lust for gold, obviously, but they were not able, like Sauron was not able to dominate them or take them under his dominion by giving them the rings. That is why he tried to take back all the 7 dwarf rings, because he thought, okay, that's a lost cause. The rings are not doing what he intended them to do. So he just wanted the rings back, because the dwarves would not be like, they won't be like mini dwarf Nazguls running around. Now Iluvatar knew what was done, and in the very hour that Aule's work was complete, and he was pleased, and began to instruct the dwarves in the speech that he had devised for them, Iluvatar spoke to him, and Aule heard his voice and was silent. And the voice of Iluvatar said to him, "Why hast thou done this? Why dost thou attempt a thing which thou knowest is beyond thy power and thy authority? For thou hast from me as a gift thy own being only, and no more, and therefore the creatures of thy hand and mind can live only by that being, moving when thou thinkest to move them, and if thy thought to be elsewhere, standing idle, is that thy desire?" Okay, this is cool. This is cool. Okay, let me go back to the slide. There are a couple of really interesting things here, which I just had a little deep dive into the Legendarium while talking, or while trying to find notes on this particular passage. Two important words that I think will be nice to understand before moving on. They are Fea and Hroa. Fea and Hroa. Fea means soul and Hroa means body. The children of Iluvatar have Fea and Hroa both, so they have the souls and they have the bodies. First, let's take the example of the elves. Their Hroa is much durable and they can heal easily. They don't get sick, they don't get old, but they can still die by wound in the battle. But their Fea is indestructible within the world, so even when their Hroa, their body, is broken or they die or fall in Middle-earth, their Fea, the soul, is called to the halls of Mandos, where it awaits the judgment of Mandos, and then their Fea is eventually reincarnated into a new body, which is identical to the previous Hroa, the previous body they had. While on the other hand, the Manish Fea is only a visitor to Arda, and when their Hroa, their body, dies, the Fea leaves Arda completely, so it is out of the circles of the world. Where it goes or what becomes of it, the elves don't know, and nobody knows, I think, except only Iluvatar and maybe some Valar also know, but they haven't not told it to the elves who are obviously writing these stories, the whole Silmarillion stories. So elves have no knowledge where the soul of the men, or when they die, where does it go, because it does not stay in the halls of Mandos for long. It goes there, but then it just passes on to Iluvatar or just goes out of the circles of the world. Granting or giving anybody Fea is only in the power of Iluvatar. while the Valar are able to create Hroa, create bodies, create beings, but they won't have souls in them. That is why Ilúvatar says here, if thy thought be elsewhere, standing idle. So if Aule like stopped thinking towards those dwarves that he created, they will just stop moving. They will be nothing. They'll be like puppets because they don't have a soul in them yet. So when Aule makes dwarves, he makes their roar, their bodies, that are idle and would do or say or act only when Aule puts his mind towards them, because they do not have Fea, the soul. So those are our two important points.
Similar to all the sort of Pinocchio and
Yeah.
other creation like
Uh-huh.
Frankenstein, and I believe I forgot if Pygmalion is also similar to this, but yeah, concept is there that they'll just stand there, I guess, and
They'll just stand
unless you tell
there
them what to
and
do.
they won't do anything. Do you want to take this next slide?
Then Aule answered, I did not desire such lordship. I desired things other than I am, to love and to teach them, so that they too might perceive the beauty of Ea, which thou hast caused to be. For it seemed to me that there is great room in Arda for many things that might rejoice in it. Yet it is for the most part empty still and dumb. And in my impatience I have fallen into folly. Yet the making of thing is in my heart from my own making by thee. And the child of little understanding that makes a play of the deeds of his father may do so without thought of mockery, but because he is the son of his father. But what shall I do now, so that thou be not angry with me forever? As a child to his father, I offer to thee these things, the work of the hands which thou hast made. Do with them what thou wilt. But should I not rather destroy the work of my presumption?
Okay, this is pretty epic. Epic reply by Aule, just pure epicness. He makes it clear here that he did not desire lordship, which is important to acknowledge again. Um, so it's again different from Melkor, nothing like Melkor. He's pretty much saying, Daddy, please don't compare me to Melkor. I'm not him. And his desire was pure. He only wanted to love and teach, and he was getting tired of the waiting. That was pretty much it. It was his impatience. Impatience is not a virtue, obviously. Patience is. So, in a way, he did sin, but not to the extent of Melkor, who just wanted dominion over everything and wanted lordship, while this guy, on the other hand, just wanted to love and teach. And humility is a key here, and that's a virtue, and pride is a sin. Aule is humble here. He does realize his mistake, and how easy it would be to compare his actions to Melkor, even if his intentions are separate from him. But still, his actions are kind of similar to him. And the child of little understanding that makes a play of the deeds of his father may do so without thought of mockery. That's just such a beautiful line. He's saying he's only doing what you pretty much told me, or what you have put in me to do. Um, it could appear, of course, to the other Valar that Aule could be mocking Ilúvatar's creation of the children of Ilúvatar. That dwarves were a mock creation from Aule in response to the children. It's easy to see it that way, just as in not knowing his intentions. But he's pretty much saying, you made me who I am, and that's a beautiful reply. I mean, he could have gone even a little further and remind Ilúvatar that you did say in the beginning that whatever you will do or not do or to mess up anything, it will eventually, in the end, always increase to the beauty of my designs, right? That's what he kept telling Melkor in the beginning. Ilúvatar did that whatever discord in the music that you're doing, in the end you'll realize that it'll only work in favor of the beauty or increase the beauty of my designs. So we can apply that here as well. Aule did make a mistake, but whatever he did, I think what Iluvatar said applies here as well. This mistake also will obviously end up uh, making the world more beautiful. Uh, and we know, like, there is much the dwarves did. They had good part and did good deeds in many of the things in the history of Middle Earth, even in the events of the Lord of the Rings. Without the dwarves, if there were no dwarves, things could have been difficult. Maybe Aragorn and Legolas, if there were only two of them and there were no third companion, then maybe they would have given up or something.
The whole Hobbit storyline would have just been a wash.
The Hobbit
There would have been nobody.
storyline would have been washed. Yeah. The Bilbo would never have found the ring, so definitely that applies here. Whatever discord or whatever mistakes, yeah, a person made, it just eventually works out for the best in the end. And lastly, what separates him from all other sub-creators is his humility and, in the end, his repentance and his offering. That is a big thing that he's doing, and we'll see all the other people who have made anything of importance in the Middle Earth. They are mean, they are possessive of the thing they created, they do not want to give it up, while him on the other hand is saying, do with them what thou wilt. He's willing to destroy his own creation just to make up for the mistake he made, which is a really big thing.
Well, in any part of the stories I'm just wondering if there are any points that Melkor destroys anything that he's worked on or created. I just wonder if that's a big difference or something, or if this is...
No, Melkor never destroys... you mean what's Melkor's sin? Like, what did he create?
Well, I guess I wonder, because of this act and that he is willing to destroy something that he's created. It just doesn't seem... I'm not sure because I haven't read the rest of it, but are there any other points where the Valar are open to destroying anything that they have created? Like, that seems like a pretty bold move on all parts. To offer the destruction of something, which they have not really done. I mean, Melkor just seems to be like destroying other people's works, not necessarily anything he's done.
Yeah, he has been destroying other people's work. He does create, like here, like as Aule creates. Melkor will create something as well, and it's more like a theory than an exact information. But Melkor does create, or rather corrupt, because him being spent and using all his energy and power for the evil is unable to create. He could create in the beginning, but his power was taken away from him. He could not create anymore, but he could only destroy and just make a mockery out of what is already created. That is how the theory that how the race of orcs is born. Orcs were elves, which Melkor took the perfect creation of Iluvatar and then corrupted them and made them into orcs. So that's one theory, but or the second one is that the best he could make, like Aule could make dwarves, and the best Melkor could make was just orcs, with their like really corrupted Fea and Hroa, with their deformed bodies and their corrupted souls. So two theories go in the creation of the orcs. One is it's a converted or corrupted elves, and the second one is he just created them because that was just the best he could do.
Okay.
Then Aule took up a great hammer to smite the dwarves, and he wept. But Iluvatar had compassion upon Aule and his desire, because of his humility, and the dwarves shrank from the hammer, and were afraid, and they bowed down their heads and begged for mercy. And the voice of Iluvatar said to Aule, "Thy offer I accepted, even as it was made. Dost thou not see that these things have now a life of their own, and speak with their own voices? else they would not have flinched from thy blow, nor from any command of thy will. Then Aule cast down his hammer, and was glad, and he gave thanks to Iluvatar, saying, May Eru bless my work and amend it. This is pretty good. So Aule was ready to destroy his creation, but Iluvatar showed compassion. Let's talk about these things have now a life of their own and speak with their own voices. Interesting thing there, which can seem that it contradicts the dumb dwarves that was said before. So what does that mean? They have a life of their own. From previous passage, Iluvatar made it clear that these things are dumb and would move only when Aule would put his mind to them, and will be idle when he wouldn't. So how are the dwarves moving and pleading for mercy now? Did Iluvatar just want to test Aule and gave dwarves life to test him further? Did he grant them now, just now, this life so they could plead for mercy? Dost thou not see that these things have now a life? Or is he just informing Aule, or just trying to make him pay attention and realize that what he's about to do, that he's about to hammer down living beings now? Thinking a bit about this passage, I think the conclusion kind of what I drew was that I believe this is the case. Iluvatar gave dwarves the life as he sees the humility and penitence of Aule, and he just gives them Fea at that moment, and only then they are able to plead for mercy. Yet being a faithful servant of Iluvatar, Aule is still willing to destroy them, and that's when Iluvatar speaks up and, hey, what are you doing? Like, can't even you see I did you a favor just now? I gave them life, I gave them the soul, and now they can speak and try to be cower and be afraid of you and beg for mercy. Because just seeing the humility, I think Iluvatar gave them the Fea at that moment, and that's when they plead for mercy. You can take the next one.
But Iluvatar spoke again and said, Even as I gave being to the thoughts of the Ainur at the beginning of the world, so now I have taken up thy desire and given to it a place therein. But in no other way will I amend thy handiwork, and as thou hast made it, so shall it be. But I will not suffer this, that these should come before the firstborn of my design, nor that thy impatience should be rewarded. They shall sleep now in the darkness under stone, and shall not come forth until the firstborn have awakened upon earth. And until that time thou and they shall wait, though long it seem. But when the time comes, I will awaken them, and they shall be to thee as children, and often strife shall arise between thine and mine, the children of my adoption and the children of my choice. Then Aule took the 7 fathers of the dwarves and laid them in rest in far sundered places, and he returned to Valinor and waited while the long years lengthened.
Nice passage. So Iluvatar grants Fea to the children of Aule, and the dwarves, the children of Aule, which are the dwarves, but he puts a condition on it that they would not awake and come out into the world before the firstborns, which are the elves. And he also adopts the children of Aule here, and that's how the dwarves came into being, and that's how they are part of the world and have both Fea and Hroa, body and soul. We still don't know what's the relation of their Fea and Hroa as compared to the their eventual fate. Does their Hroa remain dead and their Fea escapes the circles of the world. It's not told here, but it will come back to this point later. And being the creation of Aule, they also like making things and creating things of their own, which we'll see throughout the rest of the story. Um, Aule did teach them his art of making, because Aule is a craftsman as well, and many of the dwarves will be great craftsmen as well. And like that's even how that um, prologue from the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring starts. Great miners and craftsmen of the mountain holes. Kit Blanchett. Often strife shall arise between thine and mine. Now that's that's a foreshadowing. Oh my goodness! Yeah, that's right there. The fight that Gimli and Legolas have throughout the Lord of the Rings. Don't tell
But
the
I mean, is
elf.
he also including the race of man? Like, is this when he says thine and mine? I mean, it's kind of just vague.
Yeah, I think generally the dwarves did not have much problem. They always sort of just got along with the men. It's the elves which they will have the event big strife, and the reason will be given later. If that did not happen, maybe the dwarves and elves would be friendly with each other, and we'll find out where the origin of this strife between the elves and dwarves comes in this story, in the next one, I think. So we'll find out why, and it's a big reason. Um,
Not just a love triangle.
not just a love triangle. It's yeah. I think men have been generally cordial with the dwarves. I can't remember other than a little thing with the Bard and the Men of Dale. They had with Thorin, but I think that got resolved pretty quickly after Thorin became sane and decided to fight against the orcs. So yeah, I don't think there is any issue at all with men and dwarves. Since they were to come in the days of the power of Melkor, Aule made the dwarves strong to endure. Therefore they are stone hard, stubborn, fast in friendship and in enmity, and they suffer toil and hunger and hurt of body more hardly than all other speaking peoples. And they live long, far beyond the span of men, yet not forever. Aforetime it was held among the elves in Middle-earth that dying, the dwarfs returned to the earth, and the stone of which they were made. Yet that is not their own belief. For they say that Aule the Maker, whom they call Mahal, cares for them, and gathers them to Mandos in the halls set apart, and that he declared to their fathers of old that Ilúvatar will hallow them, and give them a place among the children in the end. Then their part shall be to serve Aule, and to aid him in the remaking of Arda after the last battle. They say also that the seven fathers of the dwarves return to live again in their own kin, and to bear once more their ancient names, of whom Durin was the most renowned in after ages, father of that kindred most friendly to the elves, whose mansions were in Khazad-dûm. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. Again, it is emphasized in this passage as well that dwarves have strong endurance. They are stubborn and hardy, and their will cannot be dominated easily by external factors. Also, although their lifespan is longer than men, it is still not forever, so they are not like elves. So their Fea and Hroa are much more closely knit as they are with men. They have longer spans than men though, but still not forever, not like the elves who don't die at all. Also, we got two versions about the fate of dwarves. Elvish version being that they just turn back to stone or go back into the earth, and they come that they came out of, which I think is just stupid. I think Tolkien is kind of making fun of that here. The dwarves just come in to spring out of the earth. They are nothing. They just come out of the earth from the holes. Well, the dwarven tradition is also mentioned here that they too will go to the halls of Mandos like men and elves, but they have their separate halls there. And eventually they will help Aule remake the world after the final battle. So that is a really cool part as well. This final battle is called Daggerat, and it would be equivalent in our world like Armageddon, as some people believe. Um, Also, we get name reference here of Durin. That's the father of all the dwarves, and that's the song of Durin that Gimli sings in Moria, which is also called Khazad-dûm in the Dwarven language. Um, the language that Aule teaches them here in the beginning, that he taught them his ways, and then he taught them language as well. I think he just invented a language for the dwarves. However, I don't think he had time to finish all the grammar and everything of that language. That is why there are not many who can speak this language to full. Like, you see a word here and there, but there is no like detailed grammar and everything like there is of other Elvish languages like Quenya or Sindarin. Or common speech. So dwarves mostly do speak in common speech, and then they have these some words they speak in the ancient dwarven tongue. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called like Kuzdul or something like that. And obviously Khazad-dûm might be one of those initial words that Aule taught the dwarves, and Moria is how we know it in the Elvish. Now when Aule labored in the making of the dwarves, he kept his work hidden from the other Valar. But at last he opened his mind to Yavannah, and told her of all that had come to pass. Then Yavannah said to him, Eru is merciful. Now I see that thy heart rejoiceth, as indeed it may, for thou hast received not only forgiveness but bounty. Yet because thou hidest this thought from me until its achievement, thy children will have little love for the things of my love. They will love first the things made by their own hands, as doth their father. They will delve in the earth, and the things that grow and live upon the earth they will not heed. Many a tree shall feel the bite of their iron without pity. Oh man, Yavannah is telling Aule. I think Yavannah is a little jealous, I think. Like, not only did you make a mistake and then you even like got a bounty out of it, what the hell? And Yavannah is obviously the creator of all the things that grow and all the animals and birds and whatnot. Pigeons, all the other animals who walk. And after listening to what Aule said, she is worried now what that would mean for all that she has created. Aule being a maker, and hence the dwarves would also like to create things, would like to make and create things of their own, and for that they'll cut down trees or use them for fire, and Yavannah is worried about what would that mean. Will they just destroy everything I created? Really, really concerned. Okay, you get the next one.
But Aule answered, That shall also be true of the children of Iluvatar, for they will eat and they will build. And though the things of thy realm have worth in themselves, and would have worth if no children were to come, yet Eru will give them dominion, and they shall use all that they find in Arda, though not by the purpose of Eru, without respect or without gratitude. Not unless Melkor darkened their hearts, said Yavannah, and she was not appeased, but grieved in heart, fearing what might be done upon Middle-earth in days to come. Therefore she went before Manwe, and she did not betray the counsel of Aule, but she said, King of Arda, is it true, as Aule hath said to me, that the children, when they come, shall have dominion over all the things of my labor, to do as they will therewith? Ooh, she worried.
Oh, yeah. So Aule pretty much replies to her that, well, yeah, my children will use some of what you had considered dear to yourself or some of what you've made, but don't forget, so will the children of Iluvatar. They'll also have use for what you created. They have to eat, they have to make stuff, and they will cut down trees and all that. And it's because of the children of Iluvatar that we have entered Arda, that we have made everything. And they will have dominion over everything that you or I have made. So basically you're saying, well, yeah, like, what you gonna do? Sure, my dwarves will use it, but also will the children of Iluvatar. And I think Yavannah did not really consider it before now. She did not even know that, okay, I think we made everything for the dominion of, they will have dominion over everything in Middle-earth. And she's worried, and of course she goes to the king of Valar and the king of Arda, Manwe, and brings this matter in front of him. And also she does not mention here that anything about the dwarves, because she keeps the secret that Aule told him to tell any of the other Valar, so she doesn't break it. So she keeps Aule's trust.
I mean, they'll all find out later when the children come anyway.
Oh yeah, they'll find out that for sure. Although they will have Fea by then when they eventually come into being, and I guess Aule can just claim, well, I didn't have nothing to do with that. What, me? No, me? Nah, not me. I think it was Eru. Eru created something, a third piece as well. It is true, said Manwe. But why dost thou ask? For thou hadst no need of teaching of Aule. Then Yavannah was silent, and looked into her own thought, and she answered, Because my heart is anxious, thinking of the days to come. All my works are dear to me. Is it not enough that Melkor should have marred so many? Shall nothing that I have devised be free from the dominion of others? If thou hadst thy will, what wouldst thou reserve? Said Manwe. Of all thy realm, what dost thou hold dearest? All have their worth, said Yavannah, and each contributes to the worth of the others. But the Kelvar can flee or defend themselves, whereas the Olvar that grow cannot. And among these I hold trees dear, long in the growing, swift shall they be in the felling. And unless they pay toll with fruit upon bough, little mourned in their passing. So I see in my thought, would that the trees might speak on behalf of all things that have roots, and punish those that wrong them. Why, this is a strange thought, said Manwe. Yet it was in the song, said Yavannah, for while thou wert in the heavens and with Ulmo, built the clouds and poured out the rains, I lifted up the branches of great trees to receive them. And some sang to Iluvatar amid the wind and the rain. Wow, that's a heavy couple of lines as well. So every Valar took part in creating something. It developed a strong feeling for that thing that they created. If someone were to start polluting or destroying or damaging the waters of Middle-earth, it would upset Ulmo the most. If the children of Iluvatar started hunting eagles, then Manwe would be upset. If someone were to darken the stars, Varda would feel it. In the same way, all the things that grow or walk the earth are dear to Yavannah, and she's here asking and inquiring that does her work not matter at all to anyone? And still asking, was it not enough that Melkor already had marred so much of her labors that she now finds out that even the children of Ilúvatar will have dominion over all else that she has created? And who will protect her creations? And Manwë, obviously being wise, does ask her, okay, fine, if you had to just reserve one thing from Dominion, what would that be? Also, two words are mentioned here, the Kelvar and Olvar. I think Kelvar are the animals who can walk around, and Olvar are the trees, plants, herbs, and all the things like that. Kelvar obviously don't need protections because they are creatures who can flee, run away, defend themselves. While Olvar, on the other hand, being rooted into the earth, cannot run away and flee. And she decided trees are her favorite creations. She loves trees, and trees are the ones she wants to reserve or save. Another thing, long in the growing, swift shall they be in the felling, and unless they pay toll with fruit. That's such a beautiful line and concept, because most of the trees that do not give fruit, we use them as wood. We would use them as wood for a fire, wood for building, while the trees that can bear fruit, we just take that as a payment, as a toll tax for not felling them, not cutting them off, as long as you give us fruit. And here is the first kind of mention of the idea that Yavannah has in her mind, that when she says, it was in the song, yet it was in the song. So that's a really good point. These are the Ents. Trees might speak on behalf of all other things that have roots and punish those that wrong them. She's talking about the Ents. These are the shepherds of the forest, the Ents. And Manwë finds that thought really strange, and he can't understand it because he has no concept of it and has doubts. But Yavannah tells him, I saw this vision, or I spoke of it or sang of it in the first song of the creation at the beginning. Because each of the Valar perceived one part of the mind of Ilúvatar, and sometimes they were doing a duets, like two singing together, sometimes singing alone, sometimes doing a whole orchestra of everyone together. So in one of those parts, some of it the Valar obviously had forgotten or something, and here Yavannah is remembering something. I did see a vision of protectors of the trees in the songs or the visions of Ilúvatar at the beginning. Okay, you can take this.
Then Manwë sat silent, and the thought of Yavannah that she had put into his heart grew and unfolded, and it was beheld by Ilúvatar. Then it seemed to Manwë that the song rose once more about him, and he heeded now many things therein that though he had heard them he had not heeded before. And at last the vision was renewed. But it was not now remote, for he was himself within it, and yet he saw that all was upheld by the hand of Ilúvatar. And the hand entered in, and from it came forth many wonders that had until then been hidden from him in the hearts of the Ainur. Then Manwë awoke, and he went down to Yavannah upon EstelOre, and he sat beside her beneath the two trees. And Manwë said, O Kementari, Uru hath spoken, saying, do then any of the Valar suppose that I did not hear all the song, even the least sound of the least voice? Behold, when the children awake, then the thought of Yavannah will awake also, and it will summon spirits from afar, and they will go among the Kelvar and the Olvar, and some will dwell therein, and be held in reverence, and their just anger shall be feared. For a time, while the firstborn are in their power, and while the secondborn are young. But dost them not now remember, Kementari, that thy thoughts sang not always alone? Did not thy thought and mine meet also, so that we took wing together like great birds that soar above the clouds? That also shall come to be the head of Iluvatar. And before the children awake, there shall go forth with wings like the wind the eagles of the lords of the west.
Well, there is a lot here as well. Yavannah puts the thought in Manwe's mind, and from there Iluvatar beholds it, and he finally decided now is the time to show them some things that they might have missed or not heeded in the vision, and they have seen it before but they don't remember. So he reveals to them some more wonders that were hidden from them and from the hearts of the Ainur. And Iluvatar once again says same thing here. When the children awake, same as with the dwarves and all else, these new things that Yavannah is allowed to create, the Ents, they will also not awake until the firstborn wake up. So they'll also stay idle until the birth or waking up of the children of Iluvatar, the firstborns, which are the elves. And their just anger shall be feared. Iluvatar is making true the vision that in the song of Yavannah of having protectors of the forest, and all those Olvard who cannot defend themselves, now they'll have protectors as well. Yavannah finally gets her vision materialized, and it comes into being in the form of Ents.
But when in that passage it also mentions the Kelvar as well, so does that mean that then these spirits also inhabit some of the creatures? Is he talking about like the eagles and such, or is that not the? I wasn't sure if the spirits go into both the Olvar and the Kelvar.
It will summon spirits from afar. They will go among the Kelvar and the Olvar, as some will dwell therein. I think Ents are a kind of mixture between Kelvar and Olvar. So he's saying for sure these spirits again either can be they can be thought of as Fea. So here is what it means. Olvar are the trees. Ents are not trees. Ents are a separate creation. So they are kind of like living beings, like animals. You can think of them as animals. So they are Kelvar. Olvar, you remember horns?
Yes.
So horns are the trees, and Ents are a separate creation. So the spirits which enter Olvar will be the trees that wake up and are horns, which we find in like in Lotro as well, and also they help the Ents defeat Isengard. While the Ents on the other hand are separate creations. So think of Ents as a part of Kelvar but a different creation, like dwarves were. Like Aule made the dwarves in the same way Yavannah created the Ents, these figures of protectors with legs and arms and everything, a protector of the forest, the trees, and the spirits that will enter them will be the Fea that Iluvatar grants to them, and some of the Fea enters the horns, which the Ents will control. So Ents are the main figure and horns are like their people. They are the trees that are sentient, while Ents are not trees but they're separate creation of Yavannah. Then Yavannah was glad, and she stood up, reaching her arms towards the heavens, and she said, I shall climb the trees of Kementari, that the eagles of the king may house therein. But Manwe rose also, and it seemed that he stood to such a height that his voice came down to Yavannah as from the paths of the winds. "Nay," he said, "only the trees of Aule will be tall enough. In the mountains the eagles shall house, and hear the voices of those who call upon us. But in the forest shall walk the shepherds of the trees." Then Manwe and Yavannah parted for that time, and Yavannah returned to Aule, and he was in his smithy, pouring molten metal into the mold. "Eru is bountiful," she said. "Now let thy children beware, for there shall walk a power in the forests, whose wrath they will arouse at their peril. None the less they will have need of wood," said Aule, and he went on with his smith work. That's such a fun little exchange. So Yavannah is getting excited of this new and renewal of a passionate friendship with Manwe, and offers her, "Your eagles can stay in my tall, tall, tall trees. Let's do that, Manwe." And Manwe is like, "Nah, no thanks. My eagles will not stay in your trees, but they will stay in the trees of Aule, which are the high mountains. And there they'll stay." So the offer of this excitement of Yavannah was quickly crushed by Manwe, that bad person. He could not have. He could have been a little nicer to the poor Yavannah and say, maybe, yeah, maybe sometimes my eagles can come chill on your trees, sure. Sounds
Not
good.
just like poop on the trees.
Yeah, yeah. He can just offer just for the sake of offering. Yeah, sure. We'll talk about that. Sure, sounds good. See you later. But he is like, nope, not gonna happen. Not coming to your damn trees. I'm gonna stay in the mountains. My eagles will stay in the mountains.
Well, he might also just be like, hey, did you not see that part of the song? You know, or like, they're actually over here. Sorry.
So Yavannah couldn't wait to come back and tell Aule all about what just happened. "Now let thy children beware, for there shall walk a power in the forest, whose wrath they will arouse at their peril." Yeah, Aule, take that. You were being all needing wood and that and that, but now there's a power in the forest. Your people won't be able to cut trees willy-nilly. And you thought my creations were all helpless, that trees would be there to be cut and there won't be any accounting for your children. Is that what you thought? Well, now I have powers to protect them. But Aule, being Aule, really cool and chill, and a totally can totally see him just glancing up from his smithing work towards Yavannah and saying, "Yeah, nonetheless, they will have need of wood." So there's no, what a burn. Yavannah says the whole thing. Yeah, there will be power, there will be perils, and this and that, and now realize, yeah, nonetheless, they'll have need for wood. There is no way around it. They need it to light fire. There are no other gas discovered in the Middle Earth yet. They can't just have oil discovered there to light oil. No, they don't have it. So they'll need wood. Yeah, you have powers to protect them now. That's all cool, but but you do know that they will still need wood, right? So that was a cool last exchange of this chapter, and this concludes chapter number 2 of Aule and Yavannah. Really interesting chapter, lots to unpack in this one, because Dwarves and Ents are big questions that we have in the rest of the text, especially in Lord of the Rings, where these things appear out of nowhere, and this is their history. And it was cool to discuss their coming into being and how their soul and body work. So next week it is going to be on Saturday 25th of August at 6 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6 p.m. European Standard Time. Um, the chapter will be of the coming of the elves and the captivity of Melkor. I was almost called him Morgoth, and I just realized we haven't gotten to the Morgoth part yet. We're still calling him Melkor. You can follow this channel on YouTube. The link is in the video and will be in the description. You can watch us live on Twitch. You can follow me on Twitter. Michi, do you have a Twitter as well?
I do, but that's professionally for work, so probably it's not something I'm going to share. Sorry. Yeah.
Also, you know what's cool, Michi?
What's cool?
They can listen to us in all the podcast networks, iTunes, Google Podcasts as well.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
This is more to do with the dwarves because it just specifies them as having like the 7 fathers. So does that mean that they were just created and there were only the male dwarves created? I wasn't sure if the fathers was literal or if it was.
I think that they were companions to each of the 7 fathers. They were the 7 houses of dwarves, basically.
Okay, so it wasn't necessary. It was more I was just wondering if it was conceptual because I was like, what is the point of having 7 male dwarves created? Like, it just didn't really make sense.
There is the same way the 3 houses of the elves are talked about in the latest story. The Vanyar, Noldor, and Teleri, same as here as well. There are 7 houses, 7 pairs of dwarves created. The 7 fathers were called Durin, and I don't know what their wives were called. But yeah, it's 7 different entities or groups of dwarves created.
Okay.
And for the feedback, if people need to send me feedback about the podcast or this video book club, you can do that. The email is there in the video and will be in the description as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you guys next week. Ciao.